Maker's Leather Supply, and I am super excited about today's video. Not necessarily the content of the video or anything like that, but I'm really excited because Janie Sue bought me a new microphone for Christmas. So that means I can talk about snakes and sparklers, and I'm not going to blow your eardrums out anymore. I think. We tested it. It should work. We'll see. So anyway, snakes and sparklers. Yeah, so with the previous videos, I'm quite sure that you've noticed my S's got really loud and hard, and then anytime there was a noise, it kind of crackled the microphone, and that's because we were just using the one that was integrated into the camera, and yeah, now we have a microphone. It's really nice. It's right here. Yeah, check that thing out. So anyway, I really appreciate that. So today we are going to do the video for what was the mystery box that was delivered in December. I know that we're really late on doing this video. I apologize. The holidays hit us pretty hard here. We were all hands on deck trying to get things done and be able to close out the year. So here it is. This is what we're calling the carry-all clutch. Janie Sue and Marcia both said that we needed a clutch that you could just stuff it all in. Did you hear that? Stuff it all in. So they wanted a bigger clutch and one that you could like slide your phone into a pocket on it and, you know, put more stuff in the zippered pouch and hold more cards. And anyway, I personally am closer to the minimalist style. I don't believe in all that stuff, but I'm also a dude and I have pants and pockets that work. A lot of S's in that in there. So anyway, I'll quit talking about the S's. So yeah, I have pockets and they work, and I realize that most females don't have that luxury of having clothes with lots of pockets and stuff like that. So we came up with this. This was a very rough copy of it. You can see the crazy stitching and stuff. This is what we do once the template is finalized. We make one super quick just to test the template out and make sure it's good. So forgive the terrible sew job and things like that. I'm not going to bust out the person that did this, but it wasn't me. So, all right, without further ado, here we go. For this project, we've got a few pieces here. This is the outside, like, main body that's going to hold it all together. You can see my ring light in it. This is the card pocket, very much like the Roper card wallet, Roper wallet and stuff like that. This is all the other pockets, okay? And it actually says on it that we're going to cut out, this is piece 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So we're going to cut out 5 of these, but we're going to do some different things with some of them. Okay, and it's all written right there on the template. But what I'm going to do is I am going to cut all these pieces out of their respective, it's all out of 4 to 5 or 2 to 3, just like 90% of our other templates and projects. I'm going to go ahead and cut out all these pieces, and then this one that we're going to do all the special stuff with, I'll make sure and do all that on the camera so that we can see what we're talking about. And then also the one with the card pockets, in case somebody's never seen me cut all these out, we're going to do that too. But other than that, I'm just going to use a scalpel. I am using some, I'm going to go ahead and push the camera down here. You need to see my desk and not my face. And you hear Myra barking in the background back there. Okay, so we're going to cut this biggest piece here out of 4 to 5 ounce. I'm using dark brown English bridle. This is our newest color of English bridle from Wicked Craig. I really like it. And I really like it when I mix it with tan. But Janie Sue wants this wallet for herself, and she liked the idea of the all dark brown. So it's getting made out of what Janie Sue wants because she bought the microphone. So let me kind of get my 2 to 3 out of the way here. Just put it under the desk. Get my 4 to 5 out. And so just as a demonstration of how we cut things out using our templates, I'm going to find a nice clean piece, clean spot there. Put the template on it. Grab my scalpel. Just a plain scalpel. This one has wood glued and riveted to it. This one was made by Clay Miller Tools. And then I'm just going to hold my template very still while I cut it out. Apparently I'm going to have to go give that dog some loving because she's just feeling all kinds of lonely out there. So, I apologize for that. That is Janie's wiener dog, and she doesn't know how to keep her trap shut sometimes. There we go. That easy. You don't have to use a scalpel on pieces like this. There are other pieces that I will have to use a scalpel on, because the template was designed for that. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video and cut out one of these and 5 of this one, and yeah, and then when I come back, we'll do all the holes and all that crazy stuff too. All right, so I got all these pieces cut out. So again, there's 5 of these and 1 of these, and then you watched me cut out this one right here out of the 4 to 5 ounce. The rest of them are all 2 to 3. So now we're going to work on our card pocket piece for a second. Just like any of the others, if you've ever done my card pocket style that I like to use, this rectangle right here says don't cut it out, so please don't. Okay, what we are going to cut out is all these little lines and holes right here. Okay, we have issues with folks taking a hole punch that's too large and putting it in that hole, giving it a whack, and then it cracks their template. So we're going to not use a hole punch through our template, and we're just gonna, I'm gonna take this pointy little scratch awl here and just mark where all my holes are. Okay. So I'm just drawing a real crude circle in there. Not a problem, because when I do go after it with a hole punch, it'll take away that crude circle. You can use a stylus, you can use an ink pen, you can use whatever for this. But here's where I was talking about. You will need your, this thing is called a scalpel, sorry. We made these slots on these templates just the right width for a thin scalpel blade. Not an X-Acto blade, not a box cutter blade, but a scalpel blade. And the reason we did is so that as we're cutting it, the blade won't go back and forth in the slot, so you'll have a nice straight cut. If we did experiment with having the slots a little bit larger for other blades, and that's exactly what it caused, is for the blade to have sloppiness to it, and the holes weren't, or the lines weren't near as straight and accurate as this. So here's what we're looking at. Okay, all the cuts are done. I just need to poke the holes. All right, so I'm going to grab an appropriate size hole punch. There's no real rule to this, but here's a 1/8. I'm going to use the 1/8. Grab my little maul here. We're just going to go along and punch those holes out where I marked them. And the reason we even punch these holes at the end, it stops rippage. Okay? If folks are inclined to put a bunch of cards in here and all there was is that slit, then there's a possibility that if they're stuffing 2, 3, 4 cards per slot, that it can rip the leather. But due to some weird laws of physics or something, if these holes are punched at the ends of those, they are way less likely. I'm not going to say that they're not going to rip, but it's way less likely. So there it is. This piece is done for now until we do our Tyvek stuff on it, you know, to have something to hold those cards in there. So we're going to set that piece and its template aside, and we'll start working on these 5. Okay. Now, one of these 5, okay? It says cut out 5 of the outline of this piece. Cut 3 of them will just be the outline. So let's just go ahead and take 3 of them, set them aside. One of them is going to have these 4 slots punched into it. There's a little arrow right there where it says that, and then the last one will have the zipper cut out, which is this area right here. I did not cut out this entire area. I just marked it because if I had cut it out, it would have made this template very fragile, and we fight the post office enough as it is without having to have fragile templates. So I'll show you how it's used anyway, because I would never just use it to cut out that slot if it were cut out of that. So, all right, so we're gonna do the exact same thing with these holes. I'm gonna draw my circles, and then I'm gonna make my cuts. And then I'll go back and I will punch out those holes. All right. If you ever receive one of these templates and it's kind of difficult to run your blade down that slot, very, very simple thing to take care of. To make this slot the size that it is, this line, in the template, my laser has to go down one side of it and come back up the other side. Otherwise it would be such a hairline cut, you'd never get any kind of blade through it. So when it does that, sometimes there can be some, I just call it laser trash, but that tiny little sliver of plastic that it's cutting out might get just stuck in there. If that ever happens to you and you've got your template and you can't get a blade through it, all you have to do is take your scalpel blade, turn it to where the non-sharp side is what's running in there, and as a matter of fact, there's some right there. Okay, we're gonna pull that out right quick so I can show it to you. And anyway, and just run it through the slot, okay? But here it is right here, if I can get it without, see that little sliver right there? That thing right there, if it got bunched up in there, would make it to where you couldn't pass your knife through it. So again, I just take the non-sharp side of my blade, the back side of the blade, and run it through there and kind of clean those out a little bit. And there you go. We have had people that didn't realize that's what the problem is, and they call us and they're like, hey man, my template, like I can't get a blade in there. And once I explain that, it's very easy to overcome. All right, so I need to punch these holes here. And we are done with this piece. Okay? Now, last piece is going to be where our zipper is. Alright, so I'm going to put it on there, and now we've done this side, we just need to do these in the last one. Alright, I'm going to take my scratch awl, my pokey thingy here, and I'm going to just draw those little circles. Okay, and then I'm going to grab a 1/2 inch hole punch, and I'm going to punch those holes. Inch hole punch. Do it. If you don't have a 1/2 inch, it's fine. You can use one a little bit smaller or whatever. I just know that normally I like to use a 1/2 inch one. Now I'm going to take the end of this template and I'm going to set it up there where I can just barely see the edges of those holes. I mean, I can barely see them, so I know the camera doesn't see them. And then I'm just going to very carefully cut in between them. Alright, now I find that I have a lot more control of it doing it that way as opposed to bringing it over to this side and having it to where the hole slots in there. So I'm going to spin it around and do the exact same thing again. Okay, I can barely see the edges of the holes, and I'm just going to carefully cut in between them. One thing you want to be extra careful about is once you get to that second hole, go really slow, because once you hit that opening, your knife is, if you're pushing really hard or you're going too fast, is going to slip and it's going to overcut that hole and it won't look right. This one looks pretty good. The main object here when you're cutting out something like this is not to make it look like it's two circles with lines in between, but just one giant oval. All right. So there we go. We have all of our pieces now ready to sew together. To complete this project, we need a zipper. Okay, this is a 9-inch dress zipper is what it's called. Even though that's only like a 7-inch slot right there. Okay, not a problem. We know how to do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that piece of leather over. The back side is finished on this leather, so it looks kind of like the front side, but this is the back side. All right, I have here, we have 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, and 3/4 inch double-sided tape, but Tandy has 1/8 inch tape. I really like it for this one application especially, because it makes it to where I can apply a zipper onto a spot like this and I won't have tape overhanging anything because it's so narrow. Okay, I have one roll of this and it's lasted me forever because, again, I really prefer the wider, the 1/4 inch tape for all my other applications, but for this one little application of zippers, this 1/8 of an inch sure is handy to have. So there we go. I ran my tape down both sides of that. I'll pull my backing off my tape without pulling the tape off, hopefully. There we go. And we're going to lay that zipper across there right quick. Now, I like these nylon zippers because you can sew right through them without worrying about screwing up a needle or anything like that. But, again, this zipper is too long for the project. So what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to use the stops at the closure, the end of the zipper here. I'm going to use them. So what I'm saying is that will be at the very end up here at one end, and then the other end, as I lay it across, I'm just going to let it flop off to the end and we'll cut it after we sew this thing together. Okay, now I'm going to tap this thing down, pat it down real gently, because I need to look and I want to make sure that my zipper runs right square down the center of that slot, and it does not. Let's see if I can turn up the light here. On my screen, it looks like you might be a little bit dark. Sorry. That might help. Kills my eyes, but I'm not the one that needs to see this. Y'all are. I'm actually pulling it right back off because I was nowhere near the center. I had it way too high. So, try again here. I like to do it from the back side as opposed to the front, just because a lot of the time I can get it to lay right the first time. But if I don't, then I turn it over and try again. There we go. Now we got that sucker right where we want it. Okay, and I'm going to set that aside for a minute because I'm going to use a sewing machine on this project, and I want to get a lot of things done before I get over to the sewing machine. That way we're not going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. That slows down production, no matter if we're making a video or if we're making projects for ourselves or if we're trying to run a shop. It just slows everything down. Sorry, got the heater on there. I need to turn it off so that y'all don't have to hear me try to yell over it. Okay, now this piece is done. You can see it in here. It's already done. However, it creates a pocket with another one of these pieces. Okay, so we're going to put two of them together here. In a minute, we'll glue the edges of these together like so. And we're just going to glue right around the edges so that you can still get cards in there. And the reason it's backed is because it also creates a pocket behind it. If we didn't back it, then anything we put in that pocket behind it would just knock around those cards and possibly damage them. Okay, so that's where those two pieces are going to go. We'll set them aside. Actually, you know what? Let's just go ahead and glue them right quick because we're getting ready. And then again, we'll set all these pieces that can be sewn aside and sew them all at once. I haven't used my glue jar in a while, and apparently it got pretty thick on me. Gotta find me some thinner. I had a gallon of it, but we dropped a glue jar not too long ago, and apparently they used the entire gallon cleaning that up. So I'm just putting glue along the outside 1/8 to 3/16 of an inch, I guess. Not quite a 1/4 of an inch. That gets kind of wide. Just like so. Okay. And then I have to do the exact same on the piece that it's been made up to. And yeah. If you use a glue jar and brush like the one we sell, I've talked about this on a lot of videos, but I try to always mention it. Peter Main showed me a neat trick about chopping the brush bristles to where they were nice and short. This brush used to be twice as long as it is here, and anyway, he said, man, if you cut half of those fibers off, then you don't have to fight with so much of it trying to get your glue lines nice and accurate. And it's true. I used to really slather this crap around until I started cutting the brushes. Alright, so we're going to let those two set up for just a moment. Okay. Now, one of these is going to be the backing for that one, but I can't glue it on until after I sew my zipper on. And then the last one's just going to be the pocket on the outside of the wallet. So we're going to be back to this right here. Okay, this is our main card pocket piece, and this is where we're going to use our little rectangle that we did not cut out. Okay, now what we do with our little rectangle is we take it and we put it against each of these cut lines, these lines that we cut, you know, and then we take an ink pen or something like that and we mark the bottom of the rectangle, and that's going to show us where to put all of our tape when we run our Tyvek that's going to hold our cards in there. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do some of that, and we'll talk while we do. And I'll tell you what, I've got this fancy silver ink pen here, and we're going to use it because it's going to show up on this dark leather. And again, I'm on the back side of the leather. Don't do this on the front side or you will have problems. There we go. Silver pen, I can see it. All right, so I've got the very top of the rectangle on one of these lines, and I'm just going to take the bottom part and draw a line. Now, if you notice, I didn't do it perfectly over, you know, where the lines are. I need it to stick out to the side a bit so that I can see it once that area is covered up with other layers of the Tyvek. Okay. And I'm going to do that for each and every one of these lines. I think there's 7 or 8 of them on this project. It's a good number. Okay, and it doesn't have to be crazy accurate or anything like that as far as, you know, are they perfectly, your line's going to be perfectly lined up. They just need to be accurate as far as the distance from that line down to where you're making your mark. Because that will make it to where all of your cards have a uniform height in their pockets. Okay. get up here, it's a little bit more difficult to make my lines because I'm also into the cuts that we made before as far as where we're drawing that line. And that's okay. Because again, I'm doing most of it out to the side anyway, so it'll be all right. Okay. I got 2 more to make here. There's 9 card pockets on this thing. I don't even have 9 items in my wallet, but I realize I'm not everybody. Yeah. Janie's over there with her 6-pound wallet saying, uh-huh.
Somebody's got to carry all the stuff.
Yeah, she carries all the money. So, there it is. All right, now, if there's 9 of these, then I need that number times 2 in pieces of tape plus 1. So that's 9 times 2 is 18 plus 1 more. I need 19 pieces of tape for this crazy, crazy wallet. So I need my 1/4-inch tape, and I know dang well I took it home to work on a project. So I'm going to pause this, run over to the shop right quick, and grab me a roll of 1/4-inch tape. Hey, since I have to run over there real quick, I'd actually unpaused it there. I'm going to go ahead and stick these 2 pieces together that we put the glue on, just so they don't dry out too much and I don't forget about them and lay something else on top of them. When I do this, I usually will just line 2 corners up, or line up 1 corner and it's 2 sides, and then I lay it across there. And I always press it on there lightly the first time, because if I screw up, I want to be able to pull it back off to move it. If I press it down too much, then we're going to stretch out our leather trying to pull it back apart, and that's not cool. Alright, there it is. Next thing we'll do with this piece is we're going to end up sewing just along that top area, and then we're also going to burnish that top area right there. The rest of it will be sewn into the body of the wallet, and we'll get burnished with it. So, I'm going to pause the video and run over there and get that tape I need. Alright, so went and got me a brand new 60-yard roll of 1/4-inch tape from the shop over there. We glued that piece together, so we're going to set it back aside, and we're working on the area where the cards are going to go. So we have 19 pieces of tape. I've already cut them out, and you want each of them roughly the width of those 2 holes that you've punched on each of these, okay? They can be a little bit longer, they can be a little bit shorter, but roughly about that width. Now, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to put 1 piece of tape directly underneath each of these cuts. Okay, just right up under it. You don't want it to come out over the cut, but you also don't want it too far underneath it. So just kind of right up to it there. Okay. So that's going to use 9 of our pieces of tape, just doing that right there. There we go. Now, I'm going to take 1 more piece of tape, and I'm going to put it directly under that row, but over this bottom line that I drew. Okay, we do them under the cuts, but over the lines. Alright, so I want the bottom of the tape to be right at the top of that bottom line there. Like that. Okay? And then I'm going to take I'm going to take 1 more piece of tape, and I'm going to put it anywhere between the very top cut and the top of the project. And that'll be our end point for what we're about to do. Okay? So far we have used 11 pieces of our tape. Alright? Now, I need to grab me a piece of Tyvek. Alright. It needs to be pretty long. It takes 47 inches, I believe, to do the Roper wallet, and this wallet has 3 more cards in it than the Roper does. Okay? So we got me a fresh 10-foot roll of Tyvek right there. And let's talk about the Tyvek. I talk about this with all these videos. Tyvek, this stuff is the same stuff that they use to like wrap buildings and houses before they put the external layer on them. It's used as a moisture barrier and an insulator and stuff like that. It's kind of a fiber woven papery stuff. We buy it in black because normally it comes in white, and I don't like looking into the card pockets of a wallet and seeing white at all. So we buy it in black, and we cut it into the correct widths to go with our wallet patterns and stuff. So 2 1/4 inches is what we need for the width of these card pockets. If this was the other type of wallet where the cards laid on their sides, then we would need the 3 3/4 inch width. So what we are going to do is this very bottom cut right here. We're going to take the protective tape, or the papering off of the back of the tape there, okay? And I'm going to take my Tyvek and I'm going to lay it to where it runs just straight up all those card pockets there, and I'm just going to lay it across that tape and press it down. Okay, and that gets me a really good start on keeping it straight if I do it this way. Alright, and then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it down all the way to that piece of tape, and I'm going to put a nice little crease in it. Okay, it's another reason I like this Tyvek. It creases very nicely. You can use fabric, you can use ribbon, you can use paper. I wouldn't advise it, but you can for what we're doing here. But I love the Tyvek because it's ridiculously thin, it creases well, and it's never going to mold or give up or anything like that. The other thing is, you know, people are like, oh, there's just tape inside there. I can't trust that. My customers, you know, they're not going to like that. Well, I've been making wallets like this for 9 years. I've carried wallets like this for 9 years. And I have never once had a card pocket fail on me. So as long as you're using the right tape, okay, the stuff we get is made by 3M. It's amazing stuff. That's what we have available in our store. As long as you're using the right tape, you won't have an issue. If you do, give me a call. I will replace your wallet. So yeah, so we folded it down and we creased it. Now I'm going to take the paper off the back of that very bottom piece that we put out there. My fingernails are nice and chewed off, so it does help to use my little pokey thingy to do this. Alright, we're going to take it and we're just going to lay it across that bottom piece there and rub it onto there, and then we're going to pull it back up again and crease it. Once again, just pulling it right up to the level of tape. We'll put a crease in it again, and now we will remove the next piece of paper off of the next card slot up. Okay, we lay it across there nicely and nice and flat, and then we pull it back down against itself and we create another crease. You starting to see a pattern? You will after 9 of them. Alright, now here's where all of our extra pieces of tape come in. We take the next one, see where that line is. This is why it's off to the side over here. And we put the next one just above that line, right on the back of that previous piece of Tyvek. Okay? So there's what we're looking at. We've pulled it down, we've made a nice little crease. I'm going to go ahead and pull the paper off the back of that, and I'm going to lay it across it. And then I'm going to fold it back up and do it again. And someone is just messaging the heck out of me here. Okay, I'm going to repeat those same steps throughout this entire wallet piece here, okay? So I'm not necessarily going to describe it in great detail, but I will just still tell you what I'm doing. I always do my crease before I pull that piece of backing off that tape, because I don't want to accidentally lay it on the tape when it isn't creased yet, because then you might have too much material there or something like that. Okay? So I'm going to pull it back down against the third card pocket now, create my crease. Grab me another piece of Tyvek, and I'm going to go right above the next line. Wow. Alright, so So then I'm going to pull it down, lay it across that line, rub it onto that tape, pull it back up, and create another crease. Janie's waving by at me. I'm going to pause this right quick and say bye. Alright, got finished with Janie, and then I forgot that I was making a video, so I just kept running the Tyvek for another couple of card slots. So again, it was just the exact same process over and over. I'm going to pull it down and crease it. Stick it down to the next piece here. Pull it back up and crease it. And stick it across the next card slot up. Now we'll once again put another piece of tape just above the next line. Pull it back down and crease it. Pull the back off the tape. And I know this seems like such a confusing thing, but even if you don't have these materials in front of you and you've just got a piece of paper and a roll of regular tape, like if you do it once, you'll be like, oh, okay, I see what we're doing here. And we're making credit card holders. It's going to hold the cards in the slots. And it's going to work well. So I'll turn it back up, give it a crease, pull my backing off my tape. Push it on there good, pull down, create another dadgum crease. It gets quite monotonous, I think is the word, I don't know. Another piece of tape just above the line, pull the back off, lay that across it, create another crease. I've got 3 more pockets to go. So yeah, this one's pretty long-winded being 9 pockets. Normally we only do 6 on like a Roper style wallet, and we'd be done by now. This piece of tape's a tiny bit long, so I'm going to trim it. You don't want it to hang out past your Tyvek on the bottom parts here, because then a card could get a little bit of sticky on it or something like that. Okay. We're on our 8th card slot. Ninth card slot. Alright, so we'll put our final piece of tape right there above that top line that we drew with our silver pen earlier. Pull the backing off of it. Oops, I did that before my crease. Went against my own rules. Alright, we'll create that last crease, and then when we get it up here above the last card slot, we've got that one piece of tape there. We'll pull the back off it, and we'll just roll that piece of Tyvek across it, and I'm going to cut the end of it off. Now, I have left a good 1/8 of an inch above that for my stitch line and everything, because if your Tyvek runs off through the edge of the leather, then you won't get a good burnish there, because you'll be trying to burnish Tyvek, and I'd be willing to bet it doesn't burnish as nicely as this English bridal leather does. Okay, so what have we done here? We have created 9 card pockets for a wallet. So grab something out of my wallet here. And there you go. There's how it works. Okay, the exact same thing as in my wallet. except my cards lay on their sides instead of on the top and bottom. Alrighty. So there we go. That piece is done with that. We're going to take and fold over the other side. And it's not going to fold completely in half. The reason we did that is so that the edge of the wallet would remain a little bit thinner. Okay? It's not going to fold completely in half. So what we're going to do is just kind of make it to where the distance from these holes to this edge are the same as these holes to this edge. And we're going to gently rub that fold into our leather. And in a minute, we'll sew that down, that line. Okay? Once we've got everything ready to sew, which I think we're actually at that point. So yeah. So now we're going to go over to the sewing machine. I need to sew this zipper on, and then I'll trim off the zipper and sew the glue the back to this, and then sew along the top here. We're going to sew this just along that top edge right there, and then we'll assemble the entire wallet. Oh, and we'll sew this edge right here. And then we're going to glue the entire wallet together and sew it up, and you're going to see how easy this build really is. Give me a minute to get my sewing machine set up and everything, and we'll be right back. Alright, so here we are. I'm over here at the Class 18 sewing machine. This could be done on any of the lightweight sewing machines, but my Class 18 happened to have the right thread and needle combination. This is the size 138 thread that I'm using. If I were to use a hand sewing thread on this project, I really like the 0.8 millimeter, or if you're using like our main thread, it's 0.030 inches is the size. So those are our thread sizes, and I like to keep my stitch count somewhere around like 8 stitches per inch. I'm not sure what I used this machine on last, so I may have to take a couple of stitches and adjust it. But first and foremost, I have to turn it on. So, alright, I'm going to keep my hand out of the way after I get started here. Again, I'm just going to, this is the zippered piece, and I'm just going to sew right around this zipper opening here. And, you know, to sew the zipper itself to the project. So I'm just going to sew a big oval. Keeping it right up on the edge of the leather, the sew line, because you know the zipper's not crazy wide underneath there, so I've got to make sure that I hit the edge of it, otherwise it's just a decorative stitch and it's not holding anything. As I go around the corner, I like to go pretty slow around these so that I can follow the corner or the half circles here pretty well, and also I stop it while the needle's down in the leather so that I can rotate it. It's just a good practice to get into because it keeps all your stitch spacing correct. So. Okay, so we went around that corner just fine. Now we'll zip on down to the other end. So now here on the other end, like I said before, we're just going to sew through this zipper, and then I'll trim off the excess after we're done sewing. So I'll sew it as if the zipper wasn't even there. If this zipper had metal teeth, I would be very careful on the stitch that was going through the teeth, and I would use my hand wheel to get the needle down through there instead of using the machine's motor. Because you can kind of feel it if you're, you know, if that needle happens to go down between two teeth, you're good to go. But if it just goes straight down on one of those brass teeth, there's a real good chance of doing some serious damage, at the least to your needle, but also to your machine itself. So I don't take my chances with those. I'd rather slow down and use the hand wheel for 3 seconds than be taking my machine apart for the rest of the day trying to figure out where the problem is. Alright, so we're back at our original stitch here, and I'm just going to go over the first couple of stitches to overlap them. And there we go. I gotta reach over to my desk and grab my scissors. Alright. There are a couple of things that I'm going to do right here at the desk. Actually, we may build pretty much the rest of this thing right here at the sewing table, so I don't have to keep going back and forth with the camera. So yeah. So I'm going to trim all my threads off here. Then, once again, I'm just going to peel that zipper back a little bit, and I'm going to trim it right up to the stitching. I'll leave a little bit of extra on there, not a lot though. I want to make sure that my stitching and everything that's going to go around the edge doesn't, that zipper doesn't interfere with that. And then here's the other end is just these little tabs. I'm cutting them off, so there's what we're looking at. Oh, let me bring it down to camera. Okay. All right, so I need to sew a couple other things here. These two pieces will sew together, but I've got to glue them first. This one, like I said, we've bent it over to where the space over here and the space over here are pretty much even. But I just need to sew down that outer edge right there. So we'll go ahead and sew that. I do need to start out with a back stitch since I'm not going to go all the way around the project and it's just a straight line. I do start out with a stitch in reverse there. I should have left enough room to do 2 of them or maybe even 3, but I didn't. But luckily this is a spot like there will never be any pressure or anything on the stitch. It's purely decorative. It holds this this fold real nice and tight. That's its only purpose. There we go. And then I back stitch there at the very end and it's done. Pull that one out and we'll do the next piece. I checked my bobbin before I started sewing. That's always the first rule with a machine. Check your bobbin. And I think I have enough thread to do all 3 of these, but I may be wrong and we may find out in this one right here. But this one, I'm just sewing along that top. You got your card spots right there. I'm just going to sew along that very top edge. And then we're going to do some more construction, a little bit of edge finishing and stuff like that right quick. I'm not using my edge guide on the machine right now. I took it off for another project. Sometimes it kind of limits my throat depth here when I'm doing big bags or jackets or something. So anyway, I'm just using my finger here. If you notice, I keep my index finger right there against the machine and gives it something to slide up against. And as long as I keep it consistent, we're good. Now, there's a funny for you. There is the end of my bobbin thread right there. Yeah, I got super duper lucky. So I'm going to change that thing out. It's a pretty rare occurrence when you get that kind of lucky. So maybe I should go buy me a lottery ticket or something later. Okay. Get a new bobbin ready to go here. I'm going to grab a couple of tools. I'll pause this video right quick. I'm going to grab a couple of tools. We're going to do some edging and things right here at the sewing table because, again, I don't want to move the machine or the camera back and forth 1,000 times when really we don't have a lot left on this project at all. Alright, so I just brought over my remaining pieces there. Okay. This piece we don't need to do anything with right now. This piece we need to edge and finish that top portion there, or edge and burnish it. I've got a Berry King size 0 grooved edger here, so I'm just gonna run it down it and then burnish it right quick. I've got a can of Ron's Edge Rub here. Pretty good stuff. Give it a nice little coating. Ron's Edge Rub, it's one of those less is more, but you do have to make sure it's across the entire area. So give it a nice rub with the canvas. Shiny and smooth. Okay, these two edges need to be sewn together. Actually, glued together. I'm sorry. I did bring my glue over here. So I am going to, let's see, right now we can also burnish this little piece. It's just the back pocket. We're just going to burnish one side of it. So let me grab this is a 0. I need a double 0 for that little thin thing. It's just one layer, so I need to go extra easy on it. And it really, I mean, it barely even takes anything off, but it does kind of round that edge just a little bit. Rub, got to be real gentle with it since it's just one layer. It's real easy to accidentally fold it over, and we don't want to do that. We just want to do a light burnish. Cool. Alright, so again, I need to glue these two pieces together, and again, I'm just going to go all the way around all 4 sides of both pieces, stick them together. Never did go over there and get any more thinner. I've got a ton of it over there. I've just got to pour it into smaller cans. I'm sure you hear the door going creaking over there. The little dogs are running in and out, and even though the door's open about 8 inches, they seem to think it should be much further open for their little tiny selves to run through there. Again, I am gluing on the back side of this leather. I know the back side's dyed and matches the front as far as the camera's concerned, but this is the back. This dark brown, the back side and front side are almost the same tint. Alright, let that set up for a second while I get the glue off my table. I'm gonna pause this so I'll do all that. Alright, so give it a second for that to set up. Clean the glue off my table. The dogs are now over here playfully fighting, so we have to deal with that. Dogs. There we go. I'm going to line up these two pieces and glue them together right quick. Very simple job. And then we're going to sew them together at the top, up here where the zipper is. There we go. Alright, so all I'm going to do is sew across right there, and then I'm going to burnish that edge. Okay. Alright, now we are down to, I'm going to burnish that edge, and then we're going to start our final assembly, but there is one little step that I forgot to mention thus far, and that is that we need to put a snap on one side of this before we start gluing it all up, okay? So I'm going to pause the camera, I'm going to burnish this edge right here. I'm going to get my stuff to set that snap, and then when I come back we'll talk about where it's going and what it's doing. Okay, I did bring you back over to the bench for just a second so that we can go ahead and put a snap in. Alright, so you can see from our little prototype here, there is a snap right here that we cannot put in after it's sewn. Alright, we could, but it would sure be ugly. And then also we need to create a little tab here for our little wraparound snap closure. Okay, so we're going to do those two things right quick. Not a big deal at all as far as putting the snap into this. If you look, lengthwise is the width of this thing, you know, as far as how tall or wide it is. So the snap is going to go on the center on one of the narrow ends. Alright, so I've got my handy dandy centering ruler here. Looks like this thing's just about 8 inches wide. The zero's right there in the middle. So I'm going to back it off of the edge about a ½ inch here or so, and we'll create a hole for our snap post. Alright, easy enough so far. So the next thing we need to do, I've got my my other hardware that came in my little mystery box kit here. Alrighty, so the part that we're installing on this is this part of the snap, and then its base is just the standard one. It's not the one that has the pretty cap on it. Okay, and that's why it's down on the inside of this thing, is because it's not the pretty end. Alright, so I'm going to put my snap together there, and we move my cutting board out of the way because I want to do this on my hard table, not on my cutting board that's getting all worn out and soft. Okay. I have here a Barry King line 24 snap setter. I'm going to put the appropriate end down over that snap, drop the peening tool in there, and knock it down. I do want to make sure it's tight. It is not. It needs more abuse. There we go. Now it doesn't rotate. It's tight, but it's not, you know, if I'd kept going, I'd crush it and it would move the button to one side or the other, and that's just a mess too. Now the other thing we have to do is create that little tab. All right. So very simple. I'm going to pull up here a scrap of my 4 to 5 ounce, if I can find one. There it is. Scrap of my 4 to 5 ounce. I'm going to bring back this ruler here. The ruler's got paper on the back of it, so I can't see through it. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. Yar. Alright, there it goes. Apparently, I don't know why this one made its way over to my office here, but it's apparently one of the ones we had made for Tandy. It's got their logo and our logo both on it. But anyway, same ruler, two different stores. Alright, and then these rulers have this 1/8 inch grid on them. So I want this thing to be 3/4 of an inch wide. I've got a straight edge here where I cut out my project a while ago. So I will measure up 6 of those grid lines, and I turned it over so that those lines would be right up against my leather for a more accurate measurement. Okay. I'm just going to cut it. There we go, 3/4 of an inch. Slice the end of it off there. And all I have to do with this thing is I'm going to edge bevel it, and I will go ahead and set my snap in it, because I want the snap set before I sew it closed, because I fear, well, what if I sew it on there and then I screw up my snap setting? So we might as well just eliminate that from the equation, and then it won't be a problem. So I'm going to go ahead, chop off the end of it there, use my hole punch and punch my hole for my snap. I'm going to back it off a little bit because I do want some tab of leather on the other end of it there. Okay, and then I'm just going to put that through there, put the little cup part of this on there, get my soft cutting board out of the way again. Now I'm going to use the other side of that snap setter and set it down over there. Drop my peening tool. Not tight yet. Still not tight. There we go. A German industry term, it is now guten tight. Ha ha ha. Anyway, dad joke of the day, right? Alrighty, I'm going to pause the video and we're going to go right back over to the sewing machine table and put this whole thing together. Alright, so here we are. And here's how we're going to put this thing together. We have our pocket with our zipper and everything on it. And here, I'll just show you the whole thing here. Da-da-da. The pocket with the zipper and everything is going to be closest to me here. And that's where our pull tab will get glued into the seam there. Alright, if you wanted to sew it externally, you easily could. I like to put it inside the seam. It just hides everything nicely. Okay. So this will go here. Card pocket will go on top of it, like that. This pretty little doodah will be right over here, covering up that snap. Okay. And then on the outside, we have one more pocket, which can go right here. Alrighty. And then we just sew all the way around the whole project. So all we have to do is glue all that up. It's that easy, right? So, okay, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put this piece on here, and I'm going to mark with my fingernails where it comes up to. My fingernail, I'm making a little bitty indentation right underneath the edge, and that way I know where to put my glue, okay? Because I don't want sloppy glue all over the outside of my project. I just want it where it needs to hold things together. Okay, and I'm only gluing 3 sides of it together because, of course, it's a pocket. That 4th side needs to remain open. I can assure you, before I make anything else in this shop, this glue jar is getting some work. I need to drop some thinner in this thing. I don't think I touched it at all last month, and probably only a little bit the month before that. So this glue's gotten pretty thick on me. Since it's so thick, I know this stuff pretty much is already set up good enough, so we're going to go ahead and stick these suckers together. Alright, and this thing's very ambidextrous as far as, you know, you can put whichever stuff you want on whichever side. Okay, all you have to do is flip it over. So what I am going to do is I'm going to put this over here and these on this opposite side. Just because thickness, you know, a while ago when I mocked it up, I had all this on one side and then only this on the other side. And it doesn't balance it out. The edges will be too thick on one side compared to the other and stuff like that. So where the snap is here, I'm going to put these two pieces. All right. And yeah, and then I'll glue up this piece over here. So you can do it in whatever order you want. What I'm going to do is glue this piece onto here. And then I'm going to glue this piece glue this piece onto it. Then I'll glue this part in, but I also have to have that little tab right there in the middle too. So if you'll excuse me, it's just going to be a bunch of watching me glue stuff right quick. And sorry that's so boring, but it is what it is. We got to get her done. I've been watching that show on, I think it's on Hulu, but I know it was on YouTube and stuff too, but it's called Letterkenny. It's about some Canadian town and the farmers and craziness that are living there. And anyway, there's a funny part on there where they keep saying, pitter patter, let's get at her. So it means hurry the heck up apparently. Alright, so I'm gluing 3 sides of this one, not the sewn side, but the other 3 sides. And then I'm going to glue the same sides here. And then once again, since this glue is so thick, I know that it is set up and ready to go for this purpose. Alright, now, same thing right here. Okay, I'm just going to glue up along these 3 edges and along there and put it on there. I do want to make sure here to not get sloppy with my glue. I don't want it to run in there and get involved with all that Tyvek and stuff, because then you really risk having a mess on your hands. And we don't want a mess on our hands. We don't want a mess on our wallet. We don't want a mess anywhere. Oops, I didn't put it on the other part. me stick her down. All right. Now, I do need to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that middle space without any glue in it, okay, so that I can figure out how much, or actually no, it's always a fun challenge to figure out how you want to do something like this. But I'm going to fold this wallet closed, snap my closure on it, and then just kind of measure where I want to cut it off, and I'll just mark that with my fingernail there. Pull the snap off, give it a little cutsy cut. And I'll go ahead and glue that in there. Let me grab my ruler so I can make sure I get it good and centered. So I'm going to put about a 1/2 inch of it in there. And, yeah. There we go. Get a little glue on there. Matter of fact, while I wait for, since I glubbed that on kind of thick, I'll go ahead and run my glue bead around the rest of it too. Man, what a mess. It wouldn't be if I'd just go over there and get my thinner. Alrighty. Now, once again, put my ruler down here. Tell you what, I'll put it on the outside now that there's glue all over the piece of leather there. Lay my piece over the center. And remember, you don't want to make this strap all crazy tight, because once there's a bunch of crap in here, if it was crazy tight when it was empty, you'll have to do a lot of stretching to get something else in there if you want the little snap to close for you, okay? So there we go. We are now glued up and ready to sew this sucker together. All right. About to do some tools here, letting them roll around on the bench. All right, so we push the camera over where it can see the machine a little bit better. I will turn it over because we're going to do all of our sewing on this side. And we're going to get to stitching. Where the snap is, I'm going to go slow around it to make sure the snap doesn't push my stitching out of the way. Make me a 90-degree turn. right here, I want to make sure that my sewing machine walks up on that exterior pocket. Okay, there we go. One more stitch there. There we go. Alright. We're going to run down this edge, and once again, we're just going to make sure that the machine does okay driving up over the little tab. Doesn't get hung up on anything. Into the home stretch here. I really love wallets that all just sew together at once. Oh, my top thread's getting hung up here. You know, it's really awesome to build a project and you do all this prep work and then all of a sudden everything is just boom, sew it together. So. Back to my original stitches, and I'm going to go over them over the first couple of stitches to lock it all into place. This wallet could very easily be hand sewn. I just didn't have time today. Matter of fact, if you look at my watch throughout the video, you'll know that I started this about 6 or 7 hours ago. So, all right, so there she be. There's a really ugly spot right here where my top thread got hung up and it wasn't coming off its spool okay. After I end the video, I'm actually going to go back and cut those stitches out and re-stitch them, just so I don't have that big flaw staring at me every time I look at this thing. It won't be a difficult thing, it won't be hard to do, but I think it needs to be done because I don't like how it looks. Okay, so there we are. Yeah, so there it is. We're going to, I'm going to do sanding of all the edges and burnishing. I'm going to round these corners just a tiny bit because I don't like square corners even a little bit. And I'm going to fix those dozen or so stitches down there. And that's it. I'm going to give it to Janie Sue and hope she likes it. So again, this is the carry-all clutch. It's a new template from Maker's Leather Supply. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you're able to learn something. Feel free to subscribe to our channel if you like these videos. We got a lot of stuff coming up. I've been having a lot of fun making jackets and stuff lately. So we're working on a pattern pack for that. Matter of fact, let me bring you out here. This is one I just finished right here. All nice and lined and pretty, and yeah. So we got lots of cool stuff coming. Until next time, I'm Aaron Heiser, Maker's Leather Supply. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day.